Drop in encounters at our southern borders in these first few days of the new Trump administration. Homeland Security sources telling NewsNation that in the final days of the Biden presidency, there were 4,000 encounters at the southern border. In the first 2 days under President Trump, encounters fell to 1,940. Immigration officials also saw a large drop-off in appointments through the CBP One app. Of course, that's after the Trump administration disabled that function and canceled already scheduled appointments, which did leave some migrants stranded at the border. Meantime, operations targeting immigrants convicted of certain crimes are already underway. Correspondent Allie Bradley is live for us in Texas with a look at those operations. Allie.
Yeah, hey, Nicole. So it's a mission that Americans essentially voted for, right? Literally go in, find these criminal illegal immigrants and get them out of the United States. And full disclosure here, these operations are already underway, but these teams here, they are no stranger to the streets or to these operations. So here's what we know about the fugitive operations teams that are currently on the ground. The majority of the men and women out there arresting illegal immigrants right now, they're part of the Fugitive Operations Task Force. Now, this is a detail within ICE ERO, which is the ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations. They've been around for years. We were able to tag along with crews in Chicago over the summer last year, and now it's expanding to cover even more ground more quickly. So how are these targets that they're arresting actually selected? The ICE Fugitive Operations Officer is going to get a docket or a packet with their targets. That contains criminal and non-criminal migrants. Now, they prioritize the convicted criminals. Most are registered sex offenders, murderers, rapists, and drug dealers. Now, these targets are generally distributed at random. It's essentially the officer's discretion as to who they go after. They gather their intel, they do their research, and then they post up on the target with an immigration warrant, and then they arrest them when that opportunity strikes. In a recent op here in Texas, sources say they arrested 4 different targets in one single day. Now, we want to show you a map here that we obtained through DHS sources. This shows the roughly 1.46 million people who are on these dockets. These are final orders of removal for ICE right now. This means that across the country, a judge said that they are not eligible for asylum, but they did not leave. They are still here. So they end up as a target because they don't end up showing up to report to ICE. Sources on the task force tell me it's business as usual. They're just, quote, doing their thing. And when the term raid is used, it alludes to the fact that it's not targeted enforcement, which retired Homeland Security Investigations and ICE Special Agent Victor Avila says is not the case here.
The term raid is incorrect here. This is a methodical law enforcement action that is going to be prepared, and it's not going to be ICE officers running down the streets pointing at people trying to see like, hey, you look Hispanic, we're going to pick you up. That's not going to happen here. It is going to be methodical. It's targeted. It's targeted towards a certain individual. These individuals know who they are, that are wanted, that they're here illegally. And as a matter of fact, they actually have the opportunity right now to self-deport themselves and remove themselves from the country to avoid all this.
So, Nicole, what we're looking at across the nation right now is essentially the ongoing Fugitive Operations Task Force, but in a bigger, grander, more public scale, right? Something that the Trump administration wants, kind of that intimidation factor. But when we heard from Victor Avila, he also told us that HSI and the U.S. Marshals are also going to be involved in these task force. We also know that Border Patrol, they were soliciting volunteers to head out and help ICE as well, Nicole.
So, Allie, do we know how many people they've arrested so far in these operations?
Yeah, we actually got some of those numbers from our sources as well. And what we've seen is that the arrests that they've made are pretty much on par with what we were seeing before President Trump was sworn in. So as I said, this is kind of an ongoing operation. So we want to show you the chart here. So again, we obtained this data from our DHS sources, and this is the last month of ICE arrests. That light blue line right there is the bookends. You can see that number jump there on the 20th and 21st. But as you can see, that's kind of the trend over the last month, right? Around 470 in the first 2 days. Now, yesterday's numbers, I have not seen those yet, Nicole. I'm efforting those right now. But of course, they're talking about targeting these criminal illegal immigrants, right? But when we talked with Border Czar Tom Homan, he says, be mindful here because you're going to see some collateral people being picked up. So if they go into one of these sanctuary cities, say they're in Boston, they go in for a target and someone else is in that residence or someone else is in that area that's here illegally, Nicole, but they're not a target, they will likely get arrested as well. So, Tom.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.